did you have a question? Somebody raised their hand.
Yes, I have a question. How can we
Haseyo.
live?
Yeah.
네. How can we live together?
How can we live together?
Yes.
Okay, it's a good question. Well, nowadays we live together mostly through Zoom. I'm not in your house, you're not in my house. You can put your little flower picture there and do whatever you want. I have a friend, they do these meditation retreats and everybody's on the camera like this and they all sit. And he moves a lot during meditation and people always yell at him. So he just puts a little picture up and they can't tell what he's doing. So maybe living together through Zoom is better than meeting people, except humans get lonely, and touch is very important. Touch. I'd say as a monk, the thing that was most challenging for me was not having much touch. I'm a touch person, So I'm not like, sometimes I'm bam like that, but people then bam you right back. So you learn how to, deal with that. If you're going to hit somebody, choose wisely, because there's people who are meaner and stronger than you are. Oh God. Namo Amitabha. So how can we live together? First, you have to learn to live with yourself to really live well with others. That means you have to, who are my eyes? Who am I? That's the basic. That's the most basic thing. Who am I? What am I? What, a lot of people, they don't even know what eyes see. I know. I see color. Your brain turns it into forms. I see color. That's the main thing eyes perceive. And then your brain mixing with experience turns it into form. There's a lot of things like a frog. Frogs like flies. They eat flies. We like bibimbap and, whatever everybody likes in Singapore and stuff. But frogs, they like flies. They like insects, but they can't see them until they move. Even if the insect is sitting right in front of them, they won't notice it until it moves. Even if it scratches its leg, they catch it. They catch the movement. So this movement and intention causes us to form our world. If we think everything's bad, so this world is bad and it's going to get me, that's how you start seeing everything. If you think, oh, everybody's going to be nice to me, that's how you start seeing things. And then one day when somebody is not nice to you, you're shocked. Or if you think everybody's bad and somebody is nice to you, you're shocked and you don't know how to deal with it. And then often you try and turn them into a bad person. So get to know yourself. Get to know your eyes, your ears, your nose, your tongue, your body, your mind. What do you think I like, I dislike, good, bad? People have lots of ideas of good and bad, but they don't know that's their idea. It's not the truth. Then they fight with each other. I give you an example. Seung Sahn really worked hard his whole life. And when he got to America, he went to work and he started a Zen center before he even spoke English. And he had such a great character. He looked so good. Young people wanted to hang around them anyway. And then he said that in the beginning, he rented an apartment, he got a job. He was working, taking care of a sepak place, self-service sepak, a place where you go and do your laundry. You put coins in the machine, you do your laundry. So when Korean monks tell him, in English, we call it laundromat. Laundromat. You go there and you do it yourself. You do the laundry yourself. They have some in Korea now. I saw they have one in Kyolche. There must be young soldiers or something who don't have their own washing machine or something. So he always would tell Korean monks, if you want to teach foreigners, you must get a job in a laundromat. Then you can understand American people's minds. You know? So that's what he did. And he paid for the apartment. And then students started to meet him, and he was really friendly. He said he'd always make soup or noodles when the students would come, because he said students are always hungry. And then he got some cushions, and he'd go in the other room, and then he'd point at the cushion and sit down in meditation, and the people would just look at him and copy what he did. And slowly he began to learn English. Actually, he met a professor at the local university who spoke Japanese, not Korean, but Japanese. And of course, Seung Santini grew up during the Japanese occupation of Korea, so he spoke Japanese. So he said he could give Dharma talks to the students in Japanese, and this professor would translate. And he said he'd say one sentence and the professor would talk for 5 minutes. That's when he realized, I have to learn English. So his English was very, very simple, but very clear, you know, and kind of funny, you know. Whenever he'd come, he didn't know what was going on. He'd say, what kind of happening? You know, what kind of happening? We started to talk like him, you know, like he couldn't pronounce P. You know, Koreans don't have, no, F. They don't have an F. And they sounded like a P sometimes. Young people, no problem. Everybody learns how to speak well. But the older generation, so he didn't say wonderful. He'd say wonderful, wonderful. So we started going around all the time saying, wonderful, it's wonderful, you know, because he had such great energy, you know. Later in life, I saw him really trying to say the F's. He'd go, finger, wonderful, you know, he was so cute because he was always trying. He could also be dangerous, okay? He convinced me to get married. It was one of the most horrible experiences in my life, but I learned so much, and I'm so grateful. And my ex-wife and I are still friends, you know. That's so funny. I mean, the breakup was not pretty, but we became friends afterwards. She wrote me one time, I got a boyfriend. So I wrote back, wonderful. I had already become a monk. And then she wrote me later, we're getting married. I wrote back, wonderful, wonderful, you know. And then she said, we're not getting married. And I wrote back, wonderful. And she said, we got married, wonderful. I had a baby, wonderful. I'm getting divorced, wonderful. I just said wonderful to everything she wrote. So we're still friends. So I can do marriage counseling, but nobody would like my advice. Okay, how do you learn to live together? Learn to live with yourself first. That's why we do meditation, because you sit and you got to learn to deal with yourself. Okay, but if you only stay by yourself, your karma gets stronger, and you don't understand other people. You may think everybody's just like me. Like I remember one student at the Zen Center, when people would come and ask him for advice, he'd always give them the advice of what he was doing. You know, like if he was doing 500 bows a day, he might say, oh, you must do 500 bows. But Santini might have told the person, you must chant for 1 hour, you know. So getting wisdom is not just, you know, learning about yourself. So that's why together is very helpful, and it's very annoying also. We always said the worst thing Seung Santini ever did to us in America was together action. You know, Americans hate doing things together. Look at them. You know, they can't get along at all. I'm free, you know. And they're so crazy that they'll get sick and die because I'm free. You know, they're so stupid. But anyway, that's human beings, you know. Um, Asia's better that way. I'm sure Asia has its problems too. Everybody does. Sixth patriarch Yukjo Desa said, if you save your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, that is saving all beings. Okay? So save the six beings that you live with it, your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And sometimes you don't know your attachments unless you do things with other people, work together, or make a family together, or live in a Zen center together. Even driving on the street, you're doing something together with others, right? And if you only think of yourself, bam, bam, big problems. Okay. So get to know yourself and also learn about yourself and others by doing things together. We hated it, but Sansani made it kind of fun, so that helped a lot. And he suffered too. You know, he was not living in his culture. You know, he didn't like cheese at first. Most old Koreans I noticed didn't like cheese. It smells rotten. It probably smells as bad as Cheonggukjang smells to most foreigners, you know. But if you try it for a while, it's pretty good.